Welcome to the Reality Revolution podcast. This is your host, Brian Scott, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to myself. This is our first episode, and we have so much to talk about. Just to give you a basic idea, this podcast is dedicated to all those people out there who believe life is meant to be magical and fun. You are not insignificant, cowardly, needy, but we believe that you are multidimensional, infinite, and eternal. And the primary purpose of this podcast is to reawaken your sense of fascination and awe, to shatter your rigid belief systems and habitual ways of seeing the world. Warning, this podcast could drastically change your life, so proceed with caution. I know who you are. You've read all the self-help books. You've been to all the personal development seminars. You know the importance of growth, limiting beliefs. You know the power of your thoughts. You are voracious in your acquisition of knowledge. You know about the law of attraction, the law of correspondence, the subconscious mind, the reticular activating system, positive thinking, and every system designed to push through challenges, limitations, and becoming your better self. And it still doesn't work. Should you give up? Is it all bogus? It is quite a dream to be able to create your own reality, but can you really do it? Our goal here is to hack reality, to unlock your future and your greatest potential. If you're motivated, ambitious, a goal setter, and you monitor your thinking, you know the power and importance of mastering your mind. If you can't get rid of the head trash, the doubt about your skills, feeling unworthy of success, carrying around fear of failure, lacking resources, lacking confidence, if you can't ditch those beliefs, you can't reach your full potential. You won't break through your revenue goals, achieve your relationship desires, or grow your business or sales pipeline the way you want to if you keep carrying that around. Inside each one of us is a beautiful symphony, 100 billion neurons firing in concert, constructing this vivid reality. You are inextricably tied to your mind, your body, the cosmic consciousness of the universe. Inside each quantized piece of the universe is a tiny piece of you. My purpose is to unleash your power to achieve your goals. And I'll be talking about how to make all of your dreams come true, how to manifest whatever you desire, and make those desires happen in your life, and make your desires happen quickly. Anyone can make millions. You can have your own Aladdin's lamp, call forth your own genie that can grant your every wish. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably have heard of these things. You probably were introduced to The Secret and the law of attraction. We are proposing a different view, somewhat more precise on how these things work. We're open to discussion and discovery. We want to understand this, so please share with us on this journey. Now, I know you haven't heard of me, so let me tell you about the day the bullet bounced off my back. You know, it had been a great day. Several years ago, I'm a big Broncos fan, and I'd been celebrating my team's winning the Super Bowl, and I was resting on the couch watching the commentators talk about the game. As I drifted off to sleep, I heard my own voice whisper into my ear to get up. I woke up. I heard a grinding noise. I looked up, and the back porch door was open. How could I have been so stupid? The cat had probably escaped. Why did I leave the door open? Man, I must have been completely distracted. So I walked over to the door. And it was in an interesting place, a large backyard, and there was a porch door on both the bedroom and the living room, which were both connected to the backyard. So I walked up to the back door, and I began looking for my cat, looking down on the ground, looking everywhere, hoping he had not escaped. And I reached for the handle of the door and looked up. For the first time, I saw a young man pointing a gun at me. I immediately slammed the door, which probably saved my life, and I turned to run away. He pulled the trigger. Time slowed down for me. I could see different things happening all around me, hallucinations. I felt no fear. I could see my life flashing before my eyes. I could see the moment flashing. I heard the gunshot and the bullet crashing against the glass. It was a double pane glass. I could hear each pane of the glass shatter, sequentially, very slowly. It popped like a firecracker. It wasn't like in the movies. It was a smaller caliber gun. And I felt a pop on my back. As I kept on running, I ran to the other room, and someone else was in the other room, and they began to fire. I heard multiple gunshots. I felt something hot run by my face, and I ran to the garage. Fortunately, I was still alive, and I was still able to call the police. If this bullet had entered into my body, it would have torn up my internal organs. I felt a hot thump on my back when I had ran. The bullet had bounced off of my back, and more importantly, it was like I was being guided where to run and what to do, as if I had been there before, as if somebody from the future was telling me what to do. Sounds crazy, I know. As these kids ran away after I'd called the police, I felt a mild twinge, and I had no idea. When the ambulance came, the x-rays showed nothing. Clearly the bullet had bounced off of my back. And after going back home, they found the bullet. I'd improbably survived. These kids were breaking into my house and thought I was not home since I was laying on the couch. In the weeks and months after this, I soon found this to be one of the greatest gifts that I'd ever had. Truly changed my life forever and set me on an incredible adventure that brings me to talk with you today. I had been on a journey before this. About 6 months before this had happened, my first wife had left me for her high school sweetheart out of the blue and moved the kids to another state. My business had been failing. I was overwhelmed with massive amounts of credit card debt. I was alone. My friend had lent me this small house in the middle of nowhere. I began to drink heavily, gaining weight. I had hit rock bottom, and so I had decided to turn myself around. I read every single piece of text, went to every imaginable seminar that I could afford, some ways miraculously finding ways to go to these seminars. I discovered and researched every single kind of technique that I could to understand some way for me to change the reality that I had fallen into. There had to be a way for me to change this because I truly felt like there was no other way. Nobody was going to come and help me. I had to change my reality. I saw a vision. I began to feel a vision of a future in which I had found love, wealth, success, happiness, and fulfillment. I could see the clock was ticking, that something was going to happen. It was imperative that I find a way to bring this vision to fulfillment. I had begun to meditate, which I had been doing for decades, but really hadn't understood completely. I had begun to experiment with advanced forms of meditation and begun to try to hack my own reality with multiple different techniques, mental models, mind technologies. I tried everything. I went to gurus and masters and read every book that I possibly could find. My intention with this podcast is to give you a description of my journey and to share some of the knowledge that I've gained and hopefully to listen to some of your experiences in trying to manipulate and understand the reality that we are given. I have been given this second chance, and clearly I had entered into a different space. Now, the twist to this story, the thing that you will not believe, the thing that is so incredible, is that I believed after a slow period of time after this had happened, that I had entered into a parallel alternate reality. Prior to this, for about a month, I had begun to experiment with something called quantum jumping, parallel reality surfing, reality transurfing. The idea is, through quantum physics and understanding of the way this universe works, that there is an alternate space that catalogs all the probabilities of the universe. And that with each decision we make, as quantum physicists begin to research the ways that electrons and atoms interact, that electrons and atoms can exist in states of superposition. And as a result, through theories of the many worlds theory by Hugh Everett, quantum physicists began to discuss the actuality of there being parallel universes. For each decision that you make, there's an alternate universe where the opposite decision was made. It sounds completely ridiculous. And of course, at the time, I started experimenting with these ideas, not necessarily believing in it, just simply experimenting with these particular meditations, philosophies, and ideas. And in a deep meditative state, several weeks before, I had found a way to reach and communicate with what I believed to be my higher self. I felt like my third eye, my pineal gland, had opened up, and I'd entered into a multidimensional space where there were multiple higher selves. I could see all the paths of my future, and I could see all the different things that I could do in the future. And I had asked, what can I do to live and exist and create the greatest possible future for my life from this point forward? And I was shown a path. Yet something was going to happen, something incredible, something crazy that was going to change my mindset and alter my very existence. And I had no idea what that would be. For as the days went by after this had happened, I started to notice small changes around me. Objects that I had lost started to appear. Friends that had contacted me acted as if I had been talking to them for years when I hadn't been talking to them. Movies appeared at the movie theater that I'd never heard of, and I have heard of all the movies when they come out. These are small things, and I started to see larger things. Restaurants that were open nearby where I had lived that had never even existed. There was no construction even around this area. There was nothing there, and then suddenly they popped up. I started talking to my kids, and they were listening to different music, as if they'd been listening to it all along. They were just a slightly bit different. And as I began to research this and study this, I began to realize, is there this possibility that I had entered into some kind of parallel reality? Is the real version of myself that I thought that I was back there dying in a pool of blood? And it sounds completely insane. And my first thought was, I'm going insane. Perhaps this is just post-traumatic stress disorder. Something had gone on, and maybe this is just hallucinations. My memory was shoddy. But of course, there's that part of me that wanted to deeply understand parallel realities. So I found all of the research that I possibly could and began to read everything that I could about quantum physics, about superposition, about parallel realities. And what I found truly has blown me away. And through this process, I've discovered a system in combination with all of the meditative techniques that I had learned that allowed me to find a future that was truly astonishing. And I stand before you today to bring this idea, to bring these results to you, to discuss them, to establish, do they work? I'm writing a book that's also called The Reality Revolution, and this podcast is dedicated to these ideas. And I cannot wait to hear your stories and to interview as many possible people regarding these concepts. It's a very simple thing to understand. There's so many things that we don't understand about the world that we live in. We only actually perceive 0.0001% of what's going on around us. As we sit here, cell phone signals and radio signals and waves are going through your mind right now that you can't even see. We don't see certain elements of the spectrum around us. We don't see an infrared. Creatures can only sense the world in certain ways, like bats can see sound. We only have our senses, and we only understand a very minute part of this universe. In German, they call this the Umwelt, the idea that there is a larger reality that we can witness. And that is my goal, to see and understand the larger reality and how it coexists with me and how we can use this to literally change our reality, to find wealth, happiness, joy, love, and true fulfillment. And if I have found these things, I want to bring them to you. And if through this process, through the sharing of these ideas, we can make it into something even greater. So I'm asking you, please, if you have any similar experiences, I would love to hear what you have experienced that may be similar to a parallel reality. You can email me anytime at brian@advancedsuccessinstitute.com, and I will read every email that I receive. And I would love to talk with you about it. And the goal of this podcast is to share these ideas. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something more going on. Maybe we need to have a greater understanding. Prior to this, I had become fascinated with the idea of the law of attraction, for I had seen the results of that around in my life. Like attracts like. The way that my very thoughts had brought things into my life. I'd seen it over and over and over again to the point that it was undeniable. But it still was uncontrollable. Thousands and thousands of thoughts would throw through my mind every day, and I would have no way of truly controlling them or understanding them. So I tried to create a system that allowed me to take a handle and ride these thoughts, to maneuver these thoughts so that I could have the thoughts that I wanted, to create the feelings that I wanted, to manifest the world around me for what I wanted. And I just want to tell you from my experience, I'm so excited to tell you that you can have anything you want. You can do anything that you want. You can be anything, achieve anything that you want. Nothing is impossible. You are more powerful than you can imagine. Your brain is a multidimensional interface, and you can find a parallel reality which all of reality exists. Any possibility exists. You do not need money or luck. You have everything you need inside of yourself. You are more powerful than the sun, more powerful than a supernova. You are holding an incredible amount of power deep in your heart and your mind. And if we follow some of the ideas that we will discuss on this podcast, you can achieve your dreams, whatever that is. Money, love, freedom, health. But be warned, your wishes will be granted. So you have to be careful what you wish for. My purpose, my goal has been to establish a specific system to help achieve these goals and manifest these desires. And I've done an incredible amount of research, both experiential and academic, into the creation of this podcast. So I'm hoping there's some way you've attracted this podcast to you, that you're listening to these ideas, and I would love to discuss them more. There are many self-help programs that are very consistent with what I'm talking about. We've been manifesting and achieving goals, in many ways not even knowing that what we're doing. There's many books out there. I want to discuss all of them. No doubt many of them can change your life. And we will draw from all of these teachings. Many of these teachings are simply generic and lack specificity. So let's dive in. Let's go for the advanced outlook. Let's understand the contradictions. One person is going to tell you meditation is important, but they will not advise you on how to meditate, when to meditate, or what to do before and after. So many basic recommendations without specificity. As a result, there's so much confusion as what to do. That's my inspiration, is to figure out a way that universally works. And we may not have nailed it down completely. I have ideas that I want to share with you, and we're going to interview people that have found additional discoveries and ways to overcome these problems. And I'm so excited to share these thoughts, these books, these visions with you. Let me ask you, have you struggled to achieve your goals and manifest your desires, even though you know many of the things I'm talking about? Is what you're doing simply not working? Have you lost faith in the process? We're finding ways to heal diseases and overcome basic problems we never thought we could overcome. It's becoming more and more difficult to do research on pharmaceuticals because the placebo effect is becoming more and more powerful. We're seeing our own thoughts manifest and our own fears manifest on a daily basis. If you look at what's going on in the world and in politics, we're seeing our fears manifest. We have a choice. This podcast stands at the forefront of that choice. We can choose a hopeful future in which we define our very reality and choose to have a wonderful life. New global internet economy changes everything. You can have abundance, prosperity, and so can everyone else. We have a choice right now as we become more and more powerful, as we become more and more aware of the powers that we have. We have a choice to choose between love and fear. And I'm asking you to choose love, to choose the optimistic future that is right there for you. I will discuss in so many of the incredible books, going all the way back to Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Positive Thinking, Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, The Feeling is the Secret, The Science of Getting Rich, How to Make Friends and Influence People, all of the basics. And we will unlock how these very books, from the beginning, were utilizing an essential understanding of the parallel realities that are around us. For every single second, now, we are moving into different parallel realities. It's easy to fall into the maelstrom and get lost with thousands of different meditations and guided programs and different instructions, yoga instructors and scientists and biologists and physicists and spiritualists and geneticists, psychologists and gurus. What is the best thing to do? It can be overwhelming. Where will we find the time to consume all of this? Let's use this particular venue to identify the most powerful techniques, the most powerful programs. I had been gifted in the past with lots of experience and the ability to consume vast amounts of information very quickly. And so I read and listened to everything possible, and hopefully I can distill some of what I've read so you don't have to sit and spend thousands of hours reading these items. I've also been able to integrate my master's thesis on neurolinguistic programming and see the unique links. I have unique experience with hypnotism and other various fields that I plan on integrating and utilizing with this podcast. We have the ability with this podcast to discuss over 3,000 books and many, many more academic journals, podcasts, dozens of sources. You are about to embark on a journey with me. When you hear this call to action, you will have a little voice in your mind that's going to refuse it. This is too powerful. It is too much. You don't have enough time. You're going to have some reasons not to believe this. I believe in you. Now, the fundamental goal, what I want to get out of this, is that you have to believe to achieve whatever it is you want. The first and most important thing is belief. And many times we'll be discussing facts and issues just to create the level of belief in your system and your mind so that you know that this stuff is true. There are examples all around you of the power of your mind to achieve incredible things. That chair that you're sitting in or bed that you're laying in came from somebody's mind. So did the road outside and the building nearby. All of it originated in the substance of someone's mind. The tipping point in my life came when I came to understand the true power of belief. And if you believe it, you can achieve it, you can receive it. This is difficult for many, for your beliefs are set in stone over thousands of days and hours from childhood. Your beliefs begin forming the moment you leave your mother's womb. You begin to create beliefs about security, safety, light and dark, sustenance, happiness, pain. In this blank slate, your parents immediately bombarded you with ideas, suggestions, and language. You're told when to sleep, how to eat. You're given songs and television shows to reinforce these ideas. And slowly and carefully, your mind was severed from the heart. All of this was beyond your own choice. Most of your beliefs exist outside of you. Your subconscious mind is an incredible powerhouse that commands your heart to beat and your mouth to breathe without thought. It is more powerful than you could ever imagine. And once a belief reaches its depths, it will change everything about you. And you're aware of this. For instance, let's do a little exercise. Sit and tell yourself that you're sick. Really say it until you believe it. Most of you flinched right now when you heard me say that. Just sit and just imagine how sick you are. Of course you're not going to do that. Please do not do this exercise. I know that you're not going to do this because you know deep in your heart if you did this, you could make yourself sick. The secret to achieving miracles, to making your dreams become reality, is as simple as understanding the metaphysical laws of the universe. You need to believe them. This may be hard for you to do, but as a whole, those that believe this are more successful than those that don't. The two things you need to know. 1, there's a deep power within you that is infinitely powerful and can create and attract anything you desire. It comes from an infinite source of information and abundance that is all around you. You can call it universal consciousness. Greg Braden, one of my favorite authors of The Divine Matrix, put it best. In the instant of our first breath, we are infused with the single greatest force in the universe, the power to translate the possibilities of our minds into the reality of our world. And secondly, this power is impartial and does not discriminate. It does not matter who you are or what you do. Just as electricity is impartial. When you turn on a lamp, it does not judge your actions. It is your job to identify with this power and understand its characteristics. You are immortal. You are eternal. You are infinite. You are pure energy. And all of this will reflect back on you like a mirror. What you believe and what you think, it will give you anything you believe. As Braden states, to fully awaken to our power, however, requires a subtle change in the way we think of ourselves in life, a shift in belief. He goes on to explain, just the way sound creates visible waves as it travels through a droplet of water, our belief waves ripple through the quantum fabric of the universe to become our bodies and the healing, abundance, and peace or disease, lack, and suffering that we experience in life. And just the way we can tune a sound to change its patterns, we can tune our beliefs to preserve or destroy all that we cherish, including life itself. We are never more than a belief away from our greatest love, our deepest healing, and our most profound miracles. And one of my very favorite authors, Wayne Dyer, stated once, if you want to see your heart's desire manifest in your life, you need to first believe them. And of course, look no further than the Bible. As he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. Children often attempt the impossible, driving off in the family car or walking on the ledge. This is before their beliefs are changed. You forgot the power and courage you had before your beliefs were installed. You formed by a belief pattern. That belief pattern is taking away your power. What is a belief? Most people that I talk to treat it like it's a thing when really it is a feeling of certainty about something. If you believe you're persuasive, all you're really saying is, I feel certain I'm persuasive. The sense of certainty that allows you to tap into resources that allow you to persuade others. Oftentimes, a lack of belief or a lack of certainty diminishes our ability to use the capacity that is deep within us. People so often develop limiting beliefs about who they are and what they're capable of. Because they haven't succeeded in the past. They believe they won't be able to succeed in the future. And as a result of their fear, of their pain, they begin to constantly focus on being realistic. Most people who are persistently focused on being realistic are really living in fear, deeply afraid of being disappointed again. Out of that fear, they develop beliefs that cause them to hesitate, to not give their all. As a result, they get limited results. I am not telling you what to believe. I am not trying to upend your spiritual beliefs. You do not have to believe in a universal power for this to work. If you follow the steps and the things and the discussions that we talk about on this podcast, it doesn't matter if you're an atheist, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, you can achieve incredible things. This power that we are going to discuss is not entirely mystical, it is scientific. Simply believing works, statistically speaking, compared to not believing. And it is my goal for you to achieve an avalanche of awareness, to experience miracles, to touch the divine universal power In order to do this, we must radically change our belief systems. Understand that you are not your mind. Your true mind is not in your body. You are not a drop of the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop, as Rumi said. Our goal is to introduce you to your higher self of your mind. And we're going to discuss that process on this podcast. We're going to discuss quantum physics. We're going to discuss the observer effect. We're going to discuss superposition and quantum tunneling. We're going to discuss how these things affect us in real life and what they mean for the future. We're going to discuss collapsing the wavefront. We're going to discuss using mind technologies. We're going to discuss biohacking and neurohacking. We're going to discuss meditations using the as-if principle. We're going to discuss luck training. We're going to discuss intuition training. We are going to discuss all of this in the coming days in relation to this podcast, and I am so excited to share this with you. So please, email me anytime at Brian@Advanced Success Institute if you'd like to advertise on this podcast, if you'd like to discuss your experiences with this. I'm reaching out. If anybody wants to discuss this, I'm opening this podcast for you as well. Let's understand this. Let's teach this. Let's subdue it. Let's understand it. Let's become infinite. We do not have to be logical. Miracles are not logical, but we have to understand it. I'm going to leave it there. And I just want to tell you how honored I am that you took the time to listen to this podcast. And I cannot wait to share more of my oncoming book, The Reality Revolution. And I'm so excited to share these facts and these issues with you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Look forward to speaking to you again. And let us all join the Reality Revolution.